things switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left.
Let's rip a pod, y'all.
Let's do a pod.
Okay. Welcome back to the Freelance Network Podcast, everybody. A podcast by content creators for content creators. Cassie and I are wearing the same clothes. 2 episodes in the same day, but they're being released different weeks.
Well, to be fair, I took off my jacket, so...
Oh, nice.
We could have gotten away with it.
Different. It's different. I'm wearing my hat. I'm self-conscious of my hair.
Can't go back.
Yeah. So now we have Sully. We found him wandering, and we were like, "Hey, Sully, you want to do a podcast?" And he was like, "That's a pod."
Very last minute.
There was just a signal in my brain, and it had something to do with pod, and I just grabbed onto it. And then I just ended up here. Here we are.
And now, look at us.
This is it.
Who would have thought?
Not me.
It's a pod, baby.
Not me. Alrighty. Well, what are we talking about today? Good question, viewer. You're very smart. So today we're talking about other podcasts and why we like them, because honestly, one of the biggest things about working on something is not only making your own product, but knowing what other people are doing and knowing what they're doing well and what they're not doing well at. We're focusing on positivity. We're going to talk about other podcasts that we like and why we like them. So we'll all just kind of take turns throwing one out there. So I'll go first. So my favorite podcast to listen to by far is the Colin and Samir podcast. They are a lesser known YouTube channel. Should be more known. They deserve it. They're filmmakers. Their stuff's highly cinematic. But the reason why I know who they are is because they work with Yes Theory whenever Yes Theory releases documentaries.
Fire.
Like, Yes Theory does the story, does the filming, they are the characters, but Colin and Samir come in and help the Yes Theory editors bring home the documentaries and do those long 48-hour edits to do the whole thing. But their podcast, they basically, it's like their YouTube videos where they think something's interesting on the internet and they want to talk more about it. So like one of their most popular YouTube videos is why David Dobrik laughs in his videos. And they did a study on it and figured out why it works. And then their podcast is basically the same thing where they're just like, we like this topic, we're going to talk about it.
Break it down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's very cool. I like their style. I like how they do it. So that's one that I listen to all the time. Which one do you like?
Gotcha. I mean, I would go with my normal Joe Rogan type of deal, but I've talked about it.
You like Joe Rogan?
No, not at all, man.
Oh, really?
Not even a fan. Yeah,
no,
never watched
you
him
hear
before.
that, Joe? He's not a fan.
Not even a fan. No. I'll be on there one day, but we're getting there.
Yes.
So I would normally talk about that, but I've spoken about it on this podcast before, and it's just like that. It's one of the most famous podcasts, and so people just understand what it is. To me, it's a little bit different just because I came up on it kind of before people were watching it, but regardless of that, I want to touch on another one. So there's an author that I really enjoy reading his books. His name's Tim Ferriss, and he's the author of this book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it's about how he took his work week from like 72 hours to 4, and then he like doubled, tripled, or 10x the amount of money he made at the same time of bringing his work week down to 4 hours.
I would like to do
with
that.
With 370 employees, I think.
Wow.
So that just blew my mind. I was like, how is that even possible? And so I think I saw him on Joe Rogan or something like way back, and I was like, I'm interested in this guy. And turns out he has other books as well, The 4-Hour Chef, The Tribe of Mentors, where he interviews the most successful people and put it in one book, and so they all have their own section of the book. So it's kind of a coffee table book, but at the same time you could read it all the way through, because that's what I did, because I'm obsessed. But so that book, Tribe of Mentors, is the basis of his podcast. So he interviews really extremely successful people, and Joe Rogan does that too, but it's not an interview with Joe, it's more of a conversation. With Tim, it's an interview, and he gets to ask them specific questions of, you know, how, the why, what, who, when, how, of like why they succeeded, how they did it, their mindset. He'll go into their diet, just like certain things about their life that made them the successful people that they are. So I would just like to highlight that podcast called The Tim Ferriss Show. And really informative podcast. Yeah, he's had some like high level people on there too.
That's cool.
But a lot of people like that are undercover, that like the CEO of Home Depot, just like these people that you wouldn't really think about, but are like run businesses around us that, you know, run our lives basically.
That's awesome.
Tim Ferriss Show. Check it out.
What's one you listen to?
Okay, so the one that I listen to the most, I was debating like even talking about this, but I'm going to, because
we're ripping a pod.
We're ripping a pod.
It.
So I listen to Impulsive a lot. It's Logan Paul's podcast. He's a YouTube Viner, whatever you want to call him. He's a boxer now, so whatever. He was the one who was infamously known for filming a dead body and putting it on the internet.
Good job, Logan.
Was that Japan?
Yeah.
Japan, yeah,
Gotcha.
the suicide forest in Japan. I grew up, I always thought he was like annoying. I never really consumed his content, whatever. And he is probably the biggest example of personal growth that I've ever seen. Like that incident, like ruined his career, ruined his reputation.
Should have.
It should have.
Yes.
And he came back from it because he actually shows growth. Like there's a lot of people that I've seen make mistakes on the internet, and they like, send out like a fake apology, and then they never really learn from it, and they keep going.
Yep.
He's actually taken the time. He made a couple mistakes afterwards because everyone was just watching him and like criticizing everything he did. But he like took a break. He just left the internet for a little bit, regrouped, and then grew. And his podcast is actually really interesting, and he has amazing guests on it. Like people, like famous people come on this podcast to talk. He's had billionaires, he's had actors, singers, whatever. Like one of the recent ones I listened to is Russell Brand, like because he has his own podcast, and he invited Logan on his podcast to talk and like make up for the bad things that he's done.
Because Russell Brand's like that, and he's like one of the craziest people alive. For
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, he's made mistakes too,
Yep.
and it's I just really believe in like if you actually show personal growth. That I mean, I don't like cancel culture, so I think that's like super toxic. And like at the time, that was like around the time that he did the Suicide Forest thing. That was like the beginning of cancel culture. It was like the early 2018, I want to say. It hadn't been in like full swing yet, but it's gotten worse.
He was one of the first examples of it.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, I like his podcast too. Like he brings a really interesting perspective to things, especially being like a once internet like famous person, then like internet hated person, then back to internet famous person.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know his co-host names, but I like them too.
Yeah, Mike, and well, he used to have a co-host named Spencer, but he's out doing some pretty awesome like volunteer work, and he just recently replaced him. I don't know the new guy's name really because it's been the last couple episodes, but Mike is a recovering addict and alcoholic, and he puts his perspective into things. So you have like someone who's like severely messed up their career, someone who's severely messed up their life. And then they tend to have guests that are like controversial. Like he had the Kent State gun girl on to like talk about herself, and he actually just recently took that episode off because he realized that she was not growing as a person and not being positive, so he didn't want to support that anymore.
Wow.
After he gave her the platform. So
he had Tim Dillon on. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim is very like he's just like he doesn't care. He has no filter, and he's a comedian that you either love him or you hate him. And so like after he had him on, I was like, respect.
Yeah, he will have absolutely anybody on, no matter what their reputation is.
Well, because think about it, he was once nobody wanted anything to do with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still think a lot of people don't like him or judge him or still like even I mean I do. I don't know what he does. Like I've watched a podcast with Tim Dillon that he did that was pretty good, but I haven't even gotten into him. But like at the same time, a lot of us like in reality would kill to be in the position to mess up that bad. Yeah. Like to be in the position to be able to mess up that bad and then come back. So it's so easy for like folks at home who are just watching to say like screw this guy, but
yeah, it's
respect
amazing.
for his career. Like
absolutely, he's one of the most hardworking YouTubers I've ever seen. Like he just like enjoys working so much. Like while he did that Suicide Forest thing, he had been vlogging previously for like 2 years straight, like every single day, and it's hard enough for us to upload like one a week and like have it edited. He did
vlog?
it
Yeah, like are you kidding me?
Every single day, and it was interesting stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, that was when he was at like his peak stupidity,
Yeah.
like doing really dumb things in every
But
vlog.
think about the entire internet is like following you on this vlog, and so you have to make it the craziest. You're in that position where, and like he was in a position where he really didn't care what people thought about him. I think he does care a little bit now.
Yeah.
But he especially didn't care then. Like if he would have cared, he probably would have taken the time and not maybe like, or taken the thought of like, maybe I shouldn't do this. But
yeah,
it was kind of like whatever I can put out, let's put it out.
Yeah, and also too, like it wasn't completely all just his fault. He has editors and stuff and people who approve his videos before it goes up, and that went through a whole team of people before that was put up. And you would think if it was just him messing up, like that's one thing, but no one held his team responsible.
Anybody
for
else, yeah.
anything else. Like, people approved that.
And he was the only one who took anything for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they all still have jobs or new
Yeah,
jobs.
I mean, he should though. I mean, it's still your
Yeah.
fault. Like, it's
Oh,
your
Oh,
team,
yeah,
but whatever. You know,
But
it's,
that's why.
but still, it is still crazy to think that there's 9 other people involved that didn't
Catch that.
that said, "Yep, let's just."
This is
throw it
okay
up.
to post.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that one too, like, because what you were touching on, like, growth in people, and, like, I mean, a year ago, I would have never expected to say, yeah, I like Logan Paul, like,
Me neither.
like, especially because a year ago was when the Shane Dawson series about his brother was happening, and I was like, okay, maybe Jake Paul's not a jerk, but now Jake Paul is, like, such a jerk. It's so interesting watching those two, but yeah, I think that one's
So
dope.
his brother's not on the.
He's on it as a guest frequently. Usually when he messes up, and he gives him the platform
Yeah.
to say,
So
like,
what
happened.
So they're like really. Are they really different, like personality wise? Because like I don't know.
I don't think we
enough.
actually know their personalities.
Yeah, like there's that. Well, I don't. I just haven't seen enough.
Yeah, well, okay, so Logan's a little bit older than Jake, and they used to be very similar, where they would just outdo each other in their vlogs and try to do the
Because that's
stupidest
what
thing.
I remember.
Yes.
Of like having kids come over their house and stay, and then like messing with them and like shooting water guns while they're like I don't know, just stuff where I was like, this is just childish. Like
Yeah, well, actually, something happened, like, I think last week or the week before, that they had him on the podcast to talk about, which actually ties into that. So Jake ran into Zayn from One Direction. I don't know if you guys heard about this. And he just recently started dating Gigi Hadid lately, or again. And he ran into him while he was really drunk, and he said something to Zayn that pissed him off, like, really badly. And Zayn was, like, screaming at him. And then Jake went and tweeted while he was drunk, almost just, like, I forgot how he worded it, but, like, almost like, smack down with Zayn from One Direction, like, I could have taken him, blah blah blah. And Gigi actually replied to the tweet and, like, roasted him and was like, take your YouTube ass and get out of here, like, you're nothing, you're
we
like,
got
stuff.
real talent.
Yeah. Pretty much.
We don't just vlog and influence children to be bad.
Yeah. And Logan had him on his podcast, and he literally said, he's like, I don't think that Jake's going to grow out of that stupidity phase until something really hits him like it did to me.
Yeah.
So I think Jake's still in that, like, he keeps
Imagine
doing crazy
that though, where like your brother, who you're like doing a lot of these things with, like has this entire thing unfold, right? Where like he has to save his career, bring it back up, and then you don't learn vicariously. And that's like a really huge character trait for people if you can learn vicariously through it. But it's his brother, and he's just still.
Come on, Jake.
But I get it though. Like
Yeah.
it's like the Justin Bieber effect of like, how is he not going to drive a car 170 miles an hour through the streets of Los Angeles at 19 years old with multi-million of dollars? It's like the consequences really aren't that great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think, at least. But now
Yeah.
I'm going off.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
whatever.
I mean, this
yes.
this is turning into its own episode, but we'll keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
So another podcast that I like, this one, it wasn't like I consumed it first. So I connected with this guy on LinkedIn. His name is Jerry Wong, and we were just going back and forth with each other about how to use LinkedIn and like, yeah, you write that down. But like how to use it, and then he told me about his podcast, which is called One Day in 1 Year. He started it on January 1st. And every single day, he interviews somebody. He has 60 episodes out right now. He does one episode every single day. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because I think that's a brilliant idea in itself.
What a crazy idea.
Yeah, just like his goal this year is to do a podcast every single day. And the guests, they're all over the place of types of people they are, whether it's business, other content creators, people work with nonprofits. Like, it's insane. And the way he gets his guests is very cool because he has a website for the project. And on there, you can apply to be a guest, and you basically just say, like, why you want to be on there and what you would talk about. But then also, he asks each guest, who do you think would be a good guest as well? So it's, like, the smartest, like, podcasting formula I've ever seen. And the episodes are 3 to 5 minutes long. They're just little quick interviews of, like, yo, this person's doing cool stuff, talk about it. And then every
That's
single
genius.
episode ends with a profit they want to donate, like a cause they want to donate a day of their time to
Dude,
this
we
year.
suck. What are we doing?
Right?
Yeah. We're really slacking over here.
Yeah, I know. I plan on applying to
long
be on it
episodes.
soon
Yeah.
because I just want to
No, you're making me. I mean,
experience
I
that.
definitely will now.
Yeah, I know. Let me do it first.
Hey, you found it. It's real.
Yes.
Get it, bro.
But yeah, so I just wanted to like shout that out just to check it out because it's 3-minute episodes. Like I literally listen to it in the morning, like when I'm like making breakfast, because it's like, oh, new one, here we go.
Yeah, it's
You
that
know?
easy too.
I think it's just a great idea, and he's stuck with it. I mean, we're 2 months into the year, and he's done every single day, even the leap year day. Like, bam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. I mean, I'm respect to him. I just watched a podcast, or I think it was a Joe podcast, and he had somebody on. I just don't remember who it was, but they do the same thing, but they do it by themselves. So they do an episode a day every morning at like 6 a.m. by themselves, kind of like a talk show type of deal. But like they were explaining, I'm mad that I don't have exactly who it was, but they were explaining like the cathartic benefit of sitting down with your own thoughts and just like talking as if people are listening to you. And I think there's a huge benefit to that. I mean, I think we've seen it in this podcast, but I think if you could do it yourself too, almost like podcast yourself, that might be a new form of like meditation or something.
Instead of love yourself, podcast
yeah,
yourself.
I mean, people say like journaling like helps, and like I've journaled a little bit too, and it definitely helps. So like if you can do that in word form,
Yeah.
I mean, I do it with like meditation every day, but maybe it's not the same, but that's cool. So it kind of goes off of that. But if there's, so I have just a list of these podcasts. So I'm trying to think like, what should I think about? What should I, maybe I'll just do a couple real quick. But all right. So with the last agency I was at, we did some marketing for a company called Presenter, and it's a public speaking company. So they originally taught like C-level executives and like, corporate folks how to present and public speak, but now they're getting into the more B2C side of things, so like colleges, universities, students, teachers. I mean, how many professors do we have that don't know? Like I have professors that do not look at us.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
Like I will, like and I feel bad, but I tell them, like I always tell them about this app. I'm doing a full ad for Presenter right now, but they're really good people, and they have a cool
sponsor him, Presenter.
They're the nicest people. Like I've actually got to interview the founders.
Oh, nice.
So it was really, which you could check that episode out too. And I got to interview them. But so their podcast is called Figures of Speech, and I heard that and I go, mind blown. Best.
That is such a good podcast name.
Best
cool.
name of. I was like, for just the first second I got to talk to them, I was like, hey, this is like, name is amazing. First of all, but so what they do is it's figures of speech. It's public speaking experts. So they interviewed, I forget his name. He's a French guy, but he's the first chief inspiration officer of a company. So he, motivates and inspires people throughout the company. So they interviewed him. He has a really famous TED Talk too. But yeah, really, really great podcast, Figures of Speech. I don't know if they still do it. They have like 12 episodes, but really like high quality. And you get to learn from people who are experts at public speaking, which I think is beneficial for
That's dope.
anybody.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. It's a legit podcast idea.
That's
Yeah.
a pod.
Yeah.
Facts.
I feel like you guys listen to podcasts like for educational purposes.
I'm not
and
sure if
over
it's
here like,
healthy,
Logan
to be
Paul.
honest with you, though. I mean, I'm,
No, I listen to
it's
dumb
not.
ones
It's
too.
if it is education, it's just convincing myself that it is. It's not that it really
Yeah.
is. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like another one that I love is called Starting 9. Shout out to Barstool, because Barstool puts out so everybody knocks them. They tend to be jerks on the internet, but the thing is that they figured it out. That sells, and they have so many different brands and things
They just
covered.
interviewed an artist that I perform.
Oh,
with.
really?
Yeah. His
No
name's
shit.
Ethan Ross. Yeah, they just interviewed him.
Which podcast was it?
I'm not sure. I just saw him at a Barstool, and he's
That is
like,
so
they're about
cool.
to interview me. So
That
I
is
don't know.
so
I haven't
cool.
even had.
I mean,
chance to
I
watch
like
it.
a lot of their podcasts. Like there's My Mom's Basement, which is like the resident nerd at Barstool talking about nerdy things that he likes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Avengers Endgame came out, him and one of his friends watched it and then recorded a podcast so you could listen to it as you go and like just hear them talk about it.
That's what Joe does. Called
Yeah.
Fight Companion.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
He does with the
Yeah,
fights.
it's like a commentary.
Do they have any? Does Barstool have any like music podcasts?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. They have podcasts like, so that guy Robbie, he does My Mom's Basement. He covers music he likes, and then like on different podcasts they cover music they like.
I
It's like
see.
everybody has their own thing. But one of my favorite ones through them is Starting 9, which is their baseball podcast. So it's a former baseball player, Dallas Braden, and then a Red Sox fanatic, Jared Carabas. The Rocket is his nickname. They interview so many actual players in the league now. And like literally 2 years ago, the MVP, Christian Yelich, said that he loved being on the show because he's so used to media treating him like a trophy or like
And not a normal human being.
and like
yeah.
on there they just have the weirdest, funniest conversations with players. Like it's so real. Like because that's the other thing is Barstool brings the real out in people,
Yep.
and like they make athletes feel so comfortable. They have Spit and Chicklets, which is their hockey one, same thing. So it's pretty dope.
I just I know the amount of content that they create is
It's
ridiculous,
insane.
but I haven't even gone through it, so I think I owe them that.
Yeah, it's a lot. You just got to find the people you like, because Barstool's all about their personalities, and like I have like 3 or 4 people.
I like they've had Andrew Schultz on and Charlemagne,
Yeah.
I think, and I love their podcast. I don't watch it a lot, but their personalities are crazy.
Yeah.
Just such a
crazy.
just such a crazy because you got Charlemagne, who is this just figure in media and hip hop, who has sometimes really wild opinions, but has very strong opinions. And then you have Andrew Schultz, who's like another one of those comedians that's just no filter at all. Like most of his sets are just making fun of people in the crowd for their nationality and where they're from, and it's just like it's vicious.
Yeah.
Put them together. That's a good one too. It just popped into my brain.
And I know they also have like the market for like girls as well, because I know it's not just sports and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
like-
they
they
have
do.
the
Call Her Daddy.
Yeah,
That's hilarious too.
I listened to one episode and I'm not a fan of that kind of podcast because it's all like about sexual stuff, and when I'm
They're very
driving to
funny,
school
though.
at like 8:00 in the morning, I really don't want to hear about that. But they
Yeah.
are very funny and they get a lot of attention. Like every girl from my high school that I've graduated with like posts about them on their story like daily. So like it is a very popular podcast. If you like that kind of stuff, so they cater to pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's their specialty is they find like every audience
Yeah.
and they find somebody who can talk about that audience. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. I listen to a lot of YouTubers podcasts, but I listen to David Dobrik's very often. Views. They just talk about random stuff that happens in their life. That one's just if I don't want to listen to music. I really only listen to podcasts when I'm like not in the mood to listen to music. I get in like these moods where it's just like I can't listen to the same 5 songs again.
I'm on that audiobook grind right now because
Really?
I had Audible for 6 months and didn't realize I was paying for it, and then I had all these credits, so I'm like, all right, let me buy. So I just bought 6 books.
That's cool.
So now that's taken a little away of my podcast listening.
yeah, I
It's
mean, in
still-
a way, that's like a podcast. Just
It
it's
is
a
though.
book.
It is.
It's
I
just
mean,
someone reading.
now
Yeah.
I will say I will recommend this one, which it's as if you're listening to a podcast. Russ's book. It's all in your head. Just listen to it. It's like an hour and 20-minute listen. So it's like a 2-hour read.
Yeah.
Not even. It'll be less than that. And that was really good.
That's dope.
Really high quality. Yeah. Like I think it's there's like 3 tenets to like how he built his success, and really motivational and a lot of practical knowledge in there too. You don't have to be an artist to learn from it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I like about podcasting, though, is that, like, they can be as serious as some of the ones we brought up, or they can be just as funny as David Dobrik and his friends doing random things. Because, like, David Dobrik's entire approach to the internet is the most fascinating thing ever to me. Because, like, he figured it out. Like, and he knows. Like, he knows what he's doing so hard with everything he's doing.
And
Like,
it's funny too because like he genuinely loves it. Like you could tell when someone's doing something and they don't love it. Like he talks about it all, like almost in every episode, like how much he loves his career and loves just like hanging out with his friends and doing stupid stuff and just having a camera to capture it. He's like, that's how I do it. It's
Yeah.
just I do what I love and then I'm able to capture it and monetize it.
I try to follow him on as many platforms as I can.
I
because-
know I would know this guy if I saw his face, but his face doesn't pop up in my head.
Oh, Sully's going to do some research
I'm
later.
gonna Google it right now and you're gonna know exactly
Yeah.
who it is.
Yeah, no, I
But-
mean, like, David is just, he's like such a likable guy. And like the video, I'll send you the link from Colin and Samir, the first podcast I brought up. They basically describe it as David has created the new version of Friends, but for this generation. Let's see if he knows.
I think I have, but let's see. It looks familiar, but not extremely.
Not
When
extremely.
you get the chance, go on YouTube and look up his vlogs. They're all 4 minutes and 20 seconds long, every single one of them.
Represent.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
So-
consumable. But yeah, I mean, David, we love you, but
All
we're
right.
not going to talk about you forever.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Well, that, like, speaking of YouTubers, if you guys ever heard of Corridor Digital, they're like one of the OG YouTubers. Like, they would do like video game related videos, but not like video games. Like, they would take like Minecraft characters and put them in real life, and they would like do like VFX with them. So they do a podcast where they try and find anybody that's working in the industry and like in their YouTube version of the industry as well. They also had Logan Paul on an episode because when Logan Paul did his Flat Earther documentary, the VFX were done by Corridor Digital. Like, they did the VFX shots. But their podcast is very cool because they're like an OG style of YouTubers, like still kicking it the way they always have, just with better gear now and better sponsors. Like,
you gotta love that a lot. So many people didn't survive.
Yeah, but they
didn't
did
keep going in the same form.
And they did, you know. And like, I mean, people like Shane Dawson are still around, but he's changed. But Corridor does the same thing they did.
Johnson, bro, where you at?
Right? Where did he go?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea, actually. Hit us in the comments if you know.
Yeah, if you know where he went, just let us know.
Just walking somewhere randomly.
I mean, when Cassie and I were in Atlantic City, we just saw Joey
I
Salads
was
in a
literally,
casino. So
Luke, I was literally about to bring that up.
I know
was like,
that was a psychic moment.
I sat there and wondered for years what happened to Joey Salads, and he's in Atlantic City gambling. I can tell you that right
I completely believe that, though, because that's such a Joey Salads move.
It was one of the most random things. I think we might have
We have.
touched on
have.
this
Oh, we
before.
did.
Yeah. We
But,
have
like,
talked about
this
it.
Wait up,
needs to
we
be
need
brought
to
up again.
compile our Joey Salads talk and see if we can get him on here. If he's in Atlantic City
Yeah,
for
That's
anything.
true.
It's literally
All right,
20
yo,
minutes
Joey.
away.
First of all,
Joey,
I'm
this
mad
is
you
a
get- yeah.
podcast. It's dope. You would love being here.
We
It's
talk
at
about you
Stockton
all
University,
the time.
bro.
We talk about you all the time.
This is a pod.
We are literally 20. We have a shuttle from Atlantic City to this campus. Get on the shuttle and,
And then
come be on
get
this
your
Listen,
ass
we-
in the podcasting
we will
studio.
come get you.
We're gonna tag Joey Salads when we.
Oh,
upload
yeah,
this
we
We
are.
video.
have to.
Yeah,
We have
we'll
to.
make a clip of this for you, Joey. A clip will be made for you. Be on this podcast and then retweet it.
Somebody's got to represent him. Somebody's got to allow him to tell a story because obviously, I mean, I'm judging him from his previous, from like E3, just like ripping him apart multiple times. So
Yeah,
Also, how much did you win that night?
yeah. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want
It
to
was
know.
was
December
it a ball out?
7th
What
or
are we
8th.
doing? Yeah.
December 7th or 8th, that weekend. Let us know how much you won.
Seriously, yeah, we were there.
This is the call out.
We saw you.
Yeah.
What hotel? We were at the Hard Rock.
Hard Rock, baby.
We
Gotta
knew
love
you
the
were
Hard
there.
Rock. Yeah.
Putting it out for the entire internet to know where you gamble.
Yes. Well,
There's not a lot of choices.
you know, I mean, this is just an open invitation to any of the podcasts we've talked about. If you're somehow listening to this, please be on our podcasts.
Yeah,
We love you.
I tried so hard to. Well, I didn't try that hard, but I suggested that we get David Dobrik to come to our school in the beginning of the semester
Because he was doing that college
he
tour.
still
yeah.
is doing a college tour, and it's like contact his team to see like what college you want him to come to next. And he just recently did TCNJ, and he always winds up giving like one college student that's there like $25,000 towards their tuition. And he just gives away money and helps programs and stuff like that. So I lightly
All right.
suggested that
next,
he come here.
Next
but I
portion of
didn't
this
try it.
podcast. Hey, David. So we do this podcast. It's really dope. We would love for you to be on it, and you don't need to give us money, but like
We got loans.
it'd be kind of
We
tight.
got loans.
Like, we appreciate you.
I want to work for his media company.
Right?
He's been looking
Same.
for interns, and he like opened it up on like Instagram, like here, contact if you have a degree.
David, I have a degree. Hire
Bang.
me.
I will have a degree in May. What's up?
Everybody's
What's up?
accessible.
Yes.
Go out there and get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Dobrik LLC.
Who else do we want to call out?
I want to call him my homie Mark Metry.
Oh, yes.
I mean, this dude.
It's like
This
I didn't
dude-
know who he was. Then you told me, and then now all I see is Mark everywhere.
Yep. Because first of all, he's a LinkedIn god, a LinkedIn master. That's what I like
Yes.
to call him.
As proclaimed by Barstool.
Yeah, literally as proclaimed by Barstool as well. This dude, I hit him with the add note on LinkedIn. I had like 250 connections at this point. I hit him with the, hey man, just like your content, like happy to learn more about what you do. He goes, oh man, I wouldn't have accepted you if it didn't say rapper in your headline, right? So I'm like, oh, thanks, man. He's like, send me your music. He's like, yeah, I like these 2 songs. He's like, let's get on a call. I'm like, all right. This dude, 40,000 followers, like I don't know why we're on a call. So we get on the call and we hit it off. He's talking about like, he might be wanting to make music in the future. So I was trying to, we were talking about that, but tomorrow he's going to be in New York City, but I can't make it to see him. So I think like
Doesn't he have a book coming out?
he has a book. It's called Screw Being Shy, and it's about like his entire life story. I could go into it, but anyway, I'm interviewing him on the 16th now, I think, and of this month, and he's just a crazy person. And I want to shout out his podcast called Humans 2.0. Really solid podcast. Interviews some really interesting high level people in there. So
I think it's dope because he's 22.
Yep.
And he's already
He built a 6-figure business in college too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that's insane.
I feel like it's like
So hey Mark, we do a podcast. It's really dope. We'd love
He's
to
a
have
real
you
one.
on.
He'll do it. He's a real one.
I connected with you on LinkedIn. I name dropped him and it worked.
yes. And if you know Joey Salads,
Yeah.
Bonus.
All right. Joey Salads and Mark combo episode.
could.
That'll be interesting.
Yes.
To say the
Yes.
least.
Listen, Freelance Network, we're open to anything, baby.
Yep.
I want to say a shout out, an encouragement to all of the people who started the Instagram page for their podcast and then never did the first episode. So, hey, all y'all out there who didn't do the first episode yet, I create podcasts for personal brands and companies. I will help you for free. Let's get started. So,
Guys, this is Sully. He's dope. He does a podcast. Listen to it. Work with him.
I do have a podcast. It's called Bobcast.
So one of my favorite podcasts called Bobcast.
Oh, man.
I just really like the host. He's very charming.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. It's a good pod.
Yes.
Not a bad pod,
Solid
but you
pod,
can check that one out too.
I also love Chatting Cinema because they're our podcast neighbors.
I just watched your collaboration episode, and that was fire. I didn't realize what their aspirations were or anything. Like, I just know them from seeing them in here, but like it was really good to like learn about like those guys. Yeah, they're really on the, and they do the freelance grind too, which is, you know, represent.
Yeah.
Great
Good
episode.
dudes, good dudes.
Yeah, so before we wrap up, I just want to shout out the podcast of SSTV because we have a lot coming. So in the description, I'll link the podcast we talked about, so it's going to be a very long description. But I'm also going to link the Stockton podcast because we got a lot going right now. Right now recording is Freelance Network, Chatting Cinema, Raw Juice with our boy Joe Gibbs.
I love Joe Gibbs.
Shout out.
Everybody
Joe
loves Joe Gibbs. You are a beautiful, beautiful man. Then there's Double A Music Podcast where they break down albums every episode. That's with Axel and Andrew. And then we have Give and Go with Rashawn Bates. It's basically about NBA takes and with his NBA bros. Then we have like 5 more in the process of happening. So in the coming weeks and months, you'll see more podcasts dropping. But hey, if you like podcasts, let us know which ones you like. And hopefully you check out these ones. But we appreciate you guys for watching and listening up until this point. And we will see you guys later.
That's a pod, baby.
Hey, we just recorded a podcast.
Yes.
Bye.
Doc said I got a bad heart.